Roll call.
Dino M. Paspalakis.
Here.
Mr. Mayara. Mr. Newman. Ms. Powell.
Here.
Mr. Dennis. Mrs. Tuggle.
Here.
Ms. Nazak.
Here.
Chairman Paspalakis.
Here. Okay, we all received minutes of the last meeting. Did everybody have a chance to look them over? And do I hear a motion for approval?
Motion, we approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All, any additions or any corrections? Not see. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Staff reports.
There are no staff here to give any reports for code or police.
Okay. All right, item 5, rezoning to planned development, redevelopment, PD, RD, 101 South Ocean Avenue.
All right.
Kino? Michael? There you go.
Okay, is it on now?
Yeah, there you go.
All right. I'll repeat it. Item 5, rezoning to planned development, redevelopment, PD, RD. Ready?
All right. If we get a chance there, I can have a screen. And we'll get set here.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. All right. We have a rezoning request for a planned development at 101 South Ocean Avenue. This is a request by Joe Hopkins from the Performance Group on behalf of Henri Nahar. And they have a corporation called DB 101, and they're proposing to zone about I had 7.76. It's actually 0.73. There's some other documents we had that had some information in there. So just note that correction throughout the staff report. The land is right at the corner of Harvey and Ocean Avenue, and it is currently zoned RDB1, which is hotel mixed use. And I'll take you through a couple of the, a couple of the pictures. Doesn't seem to be working for me there. Thank you. So you see where the site is located there, right up along Harvey at the ocean, and then you have the future land use, which shows a strip of along the ocean of what we call linear ocean front. That is really a part of what is intended to be that more natural boardwalk area that when it was created. And then the red area that you see there on the western half, that is the higher intensity mixed use land. So the zoning at that location, again, is RDB1. That's just showing you that. And the next picture is the actual site. So that gives you a sense from the intersection of Harvey and Ocean of what it looks like. And moving on to the next. In the report, we talked about 3 proposed modifications. There's a stacking distance that we reduced from 50 to 40 feet, 20% roughly, for the stacking. And what that is a requirement from the entrance back that you have to account for. And so in this case, given the proximity of where things have to be, and to get maximize the parking spaces in there, there's a waiver request as part of that, and that's normal to have waiver requests in a planned development rezoning. The second modification proposed is in the perimeter buffers. The right-of-way buffer would be reduced from 8 feet to 3 feet. There's a reason for that, because the plan there is to try to provide additional area for a sidewalk that would be dedicated to the public along Ocean Ave. And the last modification is on the building bulkhead lines. That parking lot that's proposed, 64 space parking lot, would actually encroach into that. Again, that's to get more parking on the site, so that doesn't cause any concern for staff to accomplish that objective. I have other considerations in here. The kind of led into this. The addition of the public parking is critical in this area near the boardwalk here, oceanfront park, because this is an area that, from looking at the counts in terms of providing public parking, we're very limited. And particularly when you get into summertime events, there's a need to make sure that we can accommodate as much parking as possible. And so that's one of the considered benefits. The applicant, as I said before, will construct a 5-foot sidewalk, dedicate that to the public to improve safety. Ocean Avenue is a very substandard street, very narrow. I think it's in about 35 feet or so width, and you basically see people during, especially the summer season, walking down the sides of the street because there's just simply no room to walk on sidewalks. There's only one walkway right now on the west side, and it's very narrow too. So this will help provide a place off of the street for pedestrians. And number 4, I had listed the city has requested the county to vacate, and then I got to clarify, the city is joining in with the property owner to the north side of Harvey in making a request to the county to vacate north half of Harvey Avenue and accommodate a hotel project at that location. So that has already been done. The city commission has approved a letter to be sent to the county, and that's in process now. Moving on to the parking lot plan. Louis, am I?
Yeah, sorry.
Doesn't work. Thank you. Appreciate it. Power's on.
Is on me? Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
Not working. Just trying to do it again with the batteries. Okay. So that's not working.
Okay, no problem.
Okay. The parking lot plan, I want you to see where that area is to the top of the screen. Shows roughly where the proposed vacation of Harvey would be if that was approved. And that really would extend the area for the proposed hotel. There's a Marriott courtyard that is proposed there at that location. We now have that proposal on file. It was filed last week, so that is in process for review by staff. Also, you see a green strip that's on there that shows you to the right side of the screen.
which is the area closest to the seawall, the ocean, and that green strip of 5 feet is where there would be planting. The site plan that we originally had was showing a 20-foot wide strip for the boardwalk. However, it is actually going to be 15 feet. And the reason for that is because the hotel project is proposing a 15-foot wide strip for the boardwalk. So these would match up. And the one thing that we gain in that is that we would get that 5-foot buffer of landscape along the boardwalk as well, between that and the parking lot. The landscape plan has been provided to you, and go on to the next one there, if I can, and show you that there is a list of plant materials that are going to be primarily plants that are going to be beach friendly. Some are drought tolerant. Many are native to and should do well in that environment, which is not an easy environment for plants to live in. So there were no comments or concerns from our staff on that part of the proposal. Moving on, there's a sign plan that shows a very simple directional sign that would be placed at the corner of Ocean and Harvey. The last but not least, this has been discussed before, there's a problem. And that problem seems to only get worse, not just the fact we have a structure, but we have a lot of people down in that area that are calling that area home. And I'm not just saying under the concrete, but they're also now encamped on the beach. And it was getting a little intense, and I know I've had the discussions with the police chief, and they're trying to do something about that. It takes the cooperation, obviously, of the county, which has jurisdiction at the end of Harvey on the beach. But when you start seeing tents going up on the beach...
That's part of private property, though, isn't it?
Pardon me?
That's part of their property.
That's part of their property. And this project is intended to resolve.
Oh, no, I
that
understand
problem.
that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that could easily be...
But let's and we want to keep in mind, Harvey is a county from Ocean Ave to the ocean is a county jurisdiction.
No, I know, but
Yeah.
you could put a piece of board or something to cover that up on your property.
Right. There's a code enforcement case, and there's and that's something that they're addressing.
Okay, no problem.
And so we all know about it, but I wanted to just not pass that by. Just note that, and the fact that we're trying to deal with some other elements around there of people who have found the beach to be a great place for camping. Okay, so with that, it's our recommendation. excuse me, that consider the approval of the application to rezone the .73 roughly acre of land, and this proposal for rezoning is tentatively scheduled to be heard by the Planning Board on May 24th, and majority vote of the Redevelopment Board members present and voting are required to recommend approval to the Planning Board, and of course to the City Commission as well. With that, I end my report, and the applicant is here if you have any questions.
Okay, before we get to the applicant, could I ask a question?
Sure.
First of all, I love the project and everything, but one concern I have is the applicant being forced to give the property up for this 15-foot boardwalk. I mean, is he voluntarily doing it? Is he being compensated for it? Is it just, what's the situation with this boardwalk property? Because, I mean, it's the easternmost part of his property. He's just giving it up, or?
No, it might be best if I let the applicant answer that question
Okay.
for you.
Joe?
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Hi. Good afternoon. My name is Joe Hopkins. I'm with the Performance Group at 100 Marina Point Drive here in Daytona Beach. Mr. Chairman, to answer your question, it's a requirement in the comprehensive plan that we provide a boardwalk. So whether that's going to be an easement or a right-of-way dedication, I'm not sure. We're kind of interested to protect our liability, if you will. I would prefer to have it deeded as a right-of-way or deeded over to the city as opposed to an easement personally and get it off our tax roll.
This is a requirement in the Land Development Code, you said?
It's in the comprehensive
Oh,
plan.
the comprehensive plan.
The deal with the boardwalk is a live wire. I mean, it's something that has been out there. It's in the comp plan. We have it in our development plan. The size has just kind of been a little bit of an accordion, whether it's going to be 20 or 15, and we're working really close with redevelopment and the planning department to get the right specification for it. But the means by which we convey, whether it be an easement or a deed, is yet to be determined. But the reservation will be there.
And I'm sorry to be monopolizing this one little bit because it kind of hits home. In the comprehensive plan, my family also owns Christina's Gifts, which is supposed to be public park. Okay, we're not obviously not going to give up the entire property to the city at one point in the future because some consultant decided to make it public park. Okay, and I just have a problem when private property owners are in a position like this. Now, part of me also sees a little compromise here because when you vacate a street like Harvey Avenue, half of it goes to the property owners to the north. Theoretically, the other half should be going to the property owners to the south. So if you're going to take away property from them, why not give them property too? Like, in other words, what are you going to do with the other half, the southern part of the Harvey? I mean, they could develop, they could put a nice little sidewalk, they could expand their parking into it, they could do something with it other than it being vacated. It's not going to be of any use. And, and the hotel's not planning on using this. So what I'm trying to say is that I don't think it's right for government to put somebody in a position where saying, hey, give up your property over here for some future boardwalk. Now, it might be to their advantage to hook their boardwalk up to the neighboring hotel, but what I'm trying to say is there is room here to compensate them for that by swapping lands. Make the boardwalk that they're giving up part of public property and give them the other half of Harvey. I mean...
Well, I think if I could, the applicant could come in with a different kind of plan and propose something like that. That hasn't happened. Number one.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. So if the applicant came to you, they could make a modification that could theoretically come to our next board meeting with that idea in place.
I suppose if they want it, but we're still dealing with another entity, being the county, and wanting to have some access.
I understand.
But let if I could, then go on to the next point, and that is that what I'm hearing is that government is somehow saying we'll extract a boardwalk out of you. We'll take this, and that's not the case here. It could be. I mean, government in this case has a comprehensive plan that says something, but I think we already know that we don't want to go down that path. What we want to do is we want to simply, as a part of a plan development where there's give and take in that discussion of preserving what we think would be something for the public along the ocean that would be a reasonable area for future improvement. And the expectation would be it would be an easement, a public easement, and that easement would be something that would be improved, assuming by the public, We're not asking the applicant to develop that boardwalk.
And who will be paying the insurance on that property?
There's some detail. I don't think we're at the details of answering all those questions. As the applicant has stated, there's still some discussion that is going to take place here. My understanding, is that correct?
Correct. Dino, this boardwalk has been was a little bit of a thorn in my side as well. And the comp plan originally read that we had to dedicate it, build it, and convey it to the city. That was a taking. And the comp plan was amended to delete that requirement. There's still a provision and a cooperative spirit from our people to work with the city and establish that boardwalk. Okay. And we're on board with that. It was reduced from 20 to 15. I'm tickled. And we provided the additional 5-foot landscaping buffer that they requested between the parking lot and the boardwalk. We're all good with that. I understand your point about Harvey being vacated, that maybe we should be entitled to 25% of that 50% that is vacated.
I mean,
we got to move on, man.
advantage that you do this boardwalk,
Yeah.
and that there's a continuous flow that goes up, to all the businesses to the
Sure.
north. Okay, I have no problem with that. I just see an opportunity here that, and I don't want to hold you back either, but I see an opportunity here, and what I'm thinking is that maybe you could have approach development in 2 phases. Phase 1, develop this. Phase 2, if you were to get half of Harvey, you could build a sidewalk and expand your parking into it. I mean,
Yeah.
it could be done in something like that. And I just personally think that would be the fair thing to do. I mean, I'm on a fair standpoint. I'm not saying the city to dish over. I mean, I'm seeing an opportunity here because this Marriott would only be entitled to half of Harvey anyways. So what's going to happen to the other half? While you're making the application to the county, you might as well make the application for the entire street, because what are you going to do with half of Harvey Avenue?
It's a 40-foot right-of-way right now. I think the county's position, they really don't give up any kind of water access, whether it be to the river or to the ocean. And if the city and Mr. Neal are successful in convincing the county to at least vacate 50% of it, I think that would be a grand slam. My understanding is that they want to maintain the access, whether it be pedestrian or maybe even emergency vehicular access. It's still going to be wide enough for a lane of traffic or for pedestrians to approach the beach. There's already a sidewalk along there, so I don't want to have to rebuild a sidewalk just to gain 5 parking spaces or something.
Your owner might. I mean, I know you're representing the owner, but until you talk to him, you don't know what he wants. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I do. Yeah.
But anyways, all right, let's leave it at that. And I've just seen that this is an opportunity, but we'll go on from there. Go ahead with your presentation. I'm sorry, Jim.
Actually, I think what Reed has done is he's kind of giving you a clear understanding of what we're trying to do. We did have a neighborhood meeting, and I see Amy's here, and some of my other attendees are here. We answered some questions, and I don't know that we had any real opposition. There was some concerns, particularly about the boardwalk, that came up, and we weren't really in a position at that time to answer them. So, Amy, we have more answers, but we're still getting some. And I'm sure I would request the board's support and approval of this application, subject to whatever we do with the city regarding the boardwalk. Our intent is to cooperate, and it's in our plan. It's in our development plan. It's on the plan that you're going to approve tonight, hopefully. So if there's any other questions, I'd be happy to entertain them.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I think it's a very sensible plan, and I took note of the plantings and so on. There are a couple of existing palm trees on that site. Are they going to be able to save those? And then also there's some fairly healthy ground cover. There's the beach. I don't know what the orange flowers are called, but there's quite a healthy ground cover. Might they be able to save those? I mean, because it's hard to grow stuff.
Could you use your mic, please?
What, you guys can't hear me? Really?
Press the microphone button.
For the TV.
Okay, can you hear me now?
No, press that blue button now.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can I just yell?
Why don't you sit closer?
Just kidding.
Oh, maybe it's not plugged in.
No, that's probably not.
Testing. I'm not used to people not being able to hear my voice.
Just gotta get on the tape.
Okay. Is it all right now?
Yeah.
So, sorry guys. So there's these two existing palm trees that might be savable since they're already growing, and then there's some pretty sturdy ground cover already growing that might be of help. I didn't know if there were going to be any plans to try to use any of that since it's already growing.
I would, at this point, I'd say no. For us to design around a palm tree is not prudent. It's only $150 to replace a palm tree.
What do you
And,
guys?
We can
oh,
guarantee
sorry.
that we can guarantee the survival that way.
Yeah.
If we start doing earthwork around an existing palm tree, chances are it may not survive.
Not survive.
The ground cover is probably dune sunflower or something
Dune
like
sunflower, yeah.
that. I think we have some specified to go in, but to try to design around that is counterproductive.
Okay, and I am curious what would get done with the palm tree and all those things.
Are you interested?
Do they get transplanted? I mean, there's some parts of our neighborhood. I see a no in the audience there from a gentleman fairly well in the know. But anyway, I think it's a fairly sensible plan, and I think the list of plantings. I think they're going to do well. It's been carefully chosen.
Yeah, it takes a concerted effort to extract the palm tree, preserve it, trim it, and have it stored for replanting. And we don't have very many people in this community, at least the landscapers and so forth, that are equipped and willing to do that and guarantee the survival, which is a pretty key component of the transplant process.
For sure, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
May I? I'm in favor of putting this parking lot in. I have several caveats, though. Regarding the Harvey Street beach access, it should not be completely closed ever, and I don't think that's the intention. I was a little surprised, and you were the first person I thought of when I saw that the north half was being vacated to go with the A Vista property, the Marriott. So to Dino's suggestion, I think it makes complete sense if they are going to vacate half and reduce the size of the access, that it be fairly split between two properties. And I'll just, if there's still negotiations going on, obviously we're early in the game, but that seems fair. The boardwalk, the 15 feet at the end, you would prefer it to be deeded to where somebody else could do the maintenance and the responsibility and the insurance and all of having a public boardwalk at the end of your property, correct?
I may defer to the city attorney on this, but my understanding is if we dedicate an easement, it's still on our tax roll. And oceanfront property on a tax roll is going to be expensive. I would prefer, and this is yet to be determined, I would prefer to deed it over and get it off of our tax roll completely.
Hold on, Dino.
But make sure when you deed it over that they cannot build on other than a boardwalk,
Yeah. If you add to that, I don't know.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well.
Right,
Wait, I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
I was just saying that's my understanding as well.
Because one of the issues that I have with this property is the condition of that seawall, and Reed showed us the picture. It's been in this condition for a long time, and I don't think that the property owner has been responsible. They haven't maintained it, they haven't taken care of it, and it's been hazardous and blight-inducing in the area. So I was excited to see a project go on this, but right now I'm seeing something that might just go on and on and on. And if you're talking about who owns the 15 feet at the end, that would include the seawall and most of that problem. So is your property owner willing to get going on this right away and to start repairing that seawall? Because there is a code enforcement case that was started in February. There was an inspection done in March with no change, in April with no change, and then the next inspection isn't scheduled until December for some reason. It's not going before the code enforcement board. So the notice of violation and everything is kind of on hold until December, and one could assume it's because this project is coming forward. I don't know if you're aware of all this.
I am.
Okay. So I don't want to be looking at the corner of Harvey and the beach any longer the way it is. I think that it's reasonable that if 3 inspections have been done, it should go before the code enforcement board for a determination of compliance or noncompliance. And the property owner needs to begin on that, just like I would if I had a serious situation, something worse than grass coming between my fence. But if I had a situation like what's been on that corner for as long as I've lived in the area, which is 7 years or going on 8 years now, there's 0 fines, there's 0 liens, and there's never been a completed case that went through the code enforcement board. So if I okay this PD, which I kind of like it, I like the I think it's much better than what's there, but there has to be a time frame associated with it for me to get behind this project. Otherwise, we might as well just hand it like a violated, a code enforcement issue and have them bring the property into compliance as a vacant lot, because it should have been graded. The trash should be off of there. The wall should be fixed. And, you're a nice guy. I hate to put it to you like this, but that's the truth. And that's what we have been looking at. And I will add, even though it's not a part of this, the corporation, it's a different corporation, but I believe it's the same owners, own a lot that's south of the Roomba, and it's in almost identical condition. The wall isn't falling in, but we have transients that live there. It's kind of caved in, and there is illegal parking going on. You have told me that is not a legal parking lot, but it's being used as paid parking because we have no parking. And so you kind of give people a little wiggle room because businesses in that area need parking. But if it's true that those people, the same individuals, own both of these lots, I think we need to take a look at who we grant a PD to, because it's not a right. It's it's something they're asking for. And if you're just coming, if the situation is they came to you and said, we want you to do a PD because we want this boardwalk, then that's a whole nother situation. But I'm seeing something that's probably going to drag on for a while, so I want some time constraints in there without going into any more lecture. Sorry. That's it. Thank you.
Anybody else like to?
I have a question. Is this going to be a paid parking lot?
It'll be open to the public, and there will be a fee.
No, he said paved.
Yeah, no, paid. No.
Oh,
It'll
paid.
be open to the public. Is it going to be like a kiosk, or is it going to be a building house? Is it going to be automatic? Put your card in and grab a ticket?
The ocean deck is probably going to most likely be the operator, the boys who own the ocean deck now. And they use the valet attendants to monitor their parking lots. I don't know if they're going to continue with valet attendants or they're going to use a kiosk. Probably valet attendants.
Probably.
Is my guess.
But will it be open to the public also, or is it just going to be for
No,
the valet of the ocean deck?
All of the parking lots that they manage are open to the public, including this one.
Okay, and then question number 2 would be just something that Amy touched on with the wall. Does that, when you construct the parking lot, if it happens, is that existing wall staying, or is it getting torn down and a new one built? And the only reason why I'm saying, if that wall's not going to, let's fix the wall now, unless it's got to be torn down and rebuilt to hold the parking lot.
I don't believe
This will be part of the 15 feet that the city gets.
That's what I'm saying.
so it's 15 feet plus the buffer. so it's 20, which is debatable if we're going to dedicate the buffer as well.
That's part of the dedicated property you're talking about, right?
I don't know if the buffer is going to go with the boardwalk, if it's going to be accessory to the boardwalk, the landscape buffer, the 5-foot landscape buffer. I don't know that yet. I know the 15-foot would be, but I'm not sure about the buffer. The part of the wall that's failed, our parking lot could be constructed without impacting the existing wall, I think. I can't guarantee that, but from what I'm seeing, it looks like we're far enough away from the area that's in jeopardy. But the city has already cited the property owner on this. There is an outstanding code violation. I've not talked to the owner about that individually. He's in Uruguay. So I really can't speak to it, but I have dealt with the Code Enforcement Board before, and they've been pretty aggressive about getting these violations resolved. So I think what my position would be on this is to get DEP out, get the field representative from DEP to come out, take a look at it, and see what kind of field authorization we can get to secure the wall and mitigate the safety concerns and so forth.
And
Yeah. Well, I have similar concerns, and my issue also is timelines, because the situation is actually getting worse, and I think Mr. Berger kind of talked about that. But for those of us that live here that use Harvey quite a bit, it's not even going to be safe for people that are parking in that parking lot if that seawall isn't mitigated. And I know that that's not necessarily your issue, but I think it needs to be part of the discussion, and that there needs to be something, if this property is allowed to be, the ownership is transferred, then code enforcement needs to have something saying that has to be fixed before the property transfers, or that's part of the agreement, because that is a huge safety and public welfare issue at this point. And right now, it just seems like nobody really has a clear answer. I don't know, Mr. Berger. But I think we all share concerns, and the big thing is timelines. And then I'm just curious, what is the proposed timeline for the parking lot? Because I struggle with projects that get approved that drag on for 5 or 6 or 7 years, and we're waiting to see property improved, and it's just kind of hanging out there waiting for a better deal to come along,
Well, this isn't going to be any different. This has got a long tail to it. We go to the redevelopment board. We go to the planning board in May. We could potentially be to the commission in July for the first and second readings. At that point, we have an approved project in the city's eyes. As a prerequisite to making application to the state, because this falls under the Bureau of Beaches and Coastal Systems, we have to have a letter of a no contravene letter, is what it's called, from the city stating that the project is in compliance with the city's rules and regulations. So you can see that everything is getting stacked nose to tail as we go along in this process. The DEP review process alone is rather it's just extracted process. We have a period of time to satisfy the application requirements. Once the application requirements are satisfied, they have a 90-day period to issue the permit. It just keeps going on and on.
no, I don't think Marcia was saying as far as you're going to pursue this.
Right. Those are reasonable
Yeah.
timelines. But my concern is we get people that come in here that propose a project, and then they sit on it or
Right.
postpone getting some of this done, and waiting maybe to flip the project as other things come along or something. And so we have these wonderful projects proposed, but then we're 4 years down the road and nothing's happened. And I'm just saying, if everything goes according to the schedules you're talking about, and yeah, there's things that come up, what is the kind of estimated timeline to see this?
I would have to say this year for sure.
Wait.
This year.
Within a year and a half, something like that.
This year.
And to me, that's reasonable. That's reasonable.
Yes. There's no intent to sell this. The property owner has no intentions to sell the property. So it's going to stay in his ownership. So I don't think you have a concern about the property being transferred and the code violation being kicked down the road or anything like that.
So I had, I guess a question, and it's not really for you. It's about vacating Harvey, and it's just a comment. I kind of disagree with Amy. If I would prefer to not have that second half vacated, because my concern is when a lot of these projects started, that people were reassured that that Harvey would remain a usable beach access for the public. And so I'm concerned, a 3-foot beach access as opposed to a 20-foot beach access. And obviously it is not one that cars access. But I would like to see the city maintain a fairly wide swath of property there so that it's an inviting access. My other question is, what kind of transition is proposed once the boardwalk is built for the Marriott, and if the boardwalk is extended to this property? Has that even come up as part of the discussion?
I think there's been some ideas that have been discussed, not with me or been in, but I know that there's been some looking at different ways because of elevations and everything. How are you going to connect, say, across Harvey and make that all happen? So I'm going to say right now that's probably unknown at this time. Would that be correct?
That's 100% accurate. We have ADA, American with Disabilities, issues to contend with. You can see that boardwalk is pretty high, elevated above Harvey now, probably 4 or 5 feet. So the transition for a handicap ramp would be 60 feet. So we may see a switchback, some type of switchback ramp there where we get the pedestrians back down to ground level and then switch them back up to boardwalk elevation. That's all in process right now.
That's kind of an unknown.
Yeah.
So one other, and this is a minor thing in looking at your design, at this time there's a fire hydrant on the corner of Ocean and Harvey. It's not in this design. Is that going to be removed or changed because of all the development that's going on? With the hotel going across the street, are there going to be, I just didn't see it in the design, and right now it's there on the corner. So.
If the sidewalk is in conflict with our planned improvements, we would relocate it. We would not eliminate it. We would relocate it.
I just noticed that on the design.
Dino, may I?
Okay.
That's it.
One more. So I'm kind of not done. You stated that code enforcement department is basically good at getting these things done. I forget what you said. They're aggressive in pursuing code violations, but I disagree. I think if the owner is in Uruguay and has been unwilling up to now, and for some reason someone will have to call code enforcement tomorrow and find out why the next inspection has been postponed till December, because I'm not allowed to call code enforcement, the head of code enforcement. So if you would check on that, I think we need to get through that process, because right now what I'm hearing is we don't know who's responsible for the seawall. And if you're really considering building this parking lot without repairing that seawall, that's what we're all hoping for, is that this project will clean that up and make it, it doesn't have to be plated in gold. But I think it needs to be replaced. It's not shored up. I'm just going to stick to that. And so I need a way to word my approval of this pending repair of the seawall, bringing the property into compliance somehow. That's the only way I'm going to be able to get past approving this.
I think I can help you with that. it may not be a prerequisite for us to repair the wall as part of this project, honestly.
I'm surprised.
I may be able to develop the parking lot without even touching the seawall. But the public safety concern about the condition of the seawall should be mitigated. And whether we come back and reconstruct the seawall today might be counterproductive because the design of the boardwalk is just up in the air right now. So if the property owner contacts me to address the code violation, my recommendation is going to be to remove the public safety issue that exists out there right now and clean it up, not necessarily rebuild it at this time. So
Right.
I would agree to that, to clean it up and reduce the public safety concern. And the rebuilding part, as I said, is
Yeah,
we don't have the answers.
That does
I
make
think
sense.
that's all
Yeah.
we're asking, is
Sure.
right now we have people living in there.
There's a
We have-
cave
It's a
underneath.
I know.
cave.
I've seen it.
It's a health hazard, and I mean, there's just a lot of issues, and I don't think you want to have to deal with that, or your owner, your investor, have people parking in your parking lot have to deal with that, and certainly it takes away from the Harvey entrance, and I mean, I think that's why we all have these concerns, and we've been frustrated with this for quite a long time. Nobody wants it to be rebuilt at this point. We get it. The seawall eventually with the boardwalk will be a much bigger project. But we do want some kind of mitigation so we don't have the current issues.
By the way, can I see that picture again? That's the aerial shot of the property. Well, no, not that. Okay, that's the problem. Okay,
That's the
we all
problem.
understand that. The aerial shot
Forward.
That'd be further
of
towards
Yeah.
the front.
Yeah.
It's a location shot.
there. Okay. All right, thank you. Just leave it there. Okay. All right. Well, one thing, I mean, just looking at that, I mean, where this boardwalk we're talking about, if it even extends further to the south, you're going to have to take over that pool deck right there, you know, and I mean, there's going to be a problem. Okay, I could just see it right now. They will lose a swimming pool, the hotel right there. The ocean deck will lose.
Dining room?
Yeah, it's going to be a problem. I could see it from just that aerial shot, and I'm sure Reed, you could see that too. You know, but anyways, but at a minimum, I just wanted to see that for the purposes of visualizing that extension. So yeah, there's going to be things that are going to have to be made to accommodate. Personally, I have no problem passing it a lot, and if you want to add some kind of wordage to where we're at a bare minimum, the safety concerns will be taken care of. You know, for what's existing right now in that one spot, you know, that would be great.
In a time. Give it a time.
Right, and then if the property owners want to, as far as this plan is before us today, if they want to amend if they work out something with staff, as far as the southern part of Harvey or not, is something that you could bring back to us in the future. Right now, we can't speculate as to whether or not something will be negotiated. Personally, I know that, from what I hear, the county is going to require, they want to preserve some kind of beach access. They might want a property owner to build a sidewalk dedicated to beach access, and then maybe the benefit of having a few extra parking spaces exist. But we don't know that. That's something that if you do work out, that's fine. You come back, we're here. You know, we delay you maybe 1 month by doing that, but we won't delay you if it's the wishes of this board to pass it the way you presented it to us today.
Fair enough.
You know, is there anything else you want to say to this board?
I'm just going to make a comment regarding Harvey Avenue. Right now, you've got a full developed right-of-way. And if you take half of it, you still have half that has the curbing, the sidewalk, and the pavement. If you take from both sides, you don't have any sidewalks, you don't have any curbing, you just have a little bit of pavement left over. So the cost of coming back and creating the public access and the sidewalks and so forth is going to be escalated, compounded by taking portions of the right-of-way from both sides. So I know, I'm very familiar with the owner of the property to the north and his ambitions, and
That's fine. I'm not.
yeah.
There might be, because I mean, the only reason I brought this up is I have a problem with the fact that you're giving up property to the city without compensation. I think that's against the Fifth Amendment right. But anyways, that's, that to me is the problem I have. But you didn't have a problem coming to this board with it. As far as the city attorney goes, you said that should we put it in, whoever makes the motion, should they put in there that as far as the board goes, should we put some kind of wordage as to whether it's dedicated or whether it's...
I think that that's something for the dedication that still needs to be discussed internally, but if you wanted to do a motion to approve with the addition that...
the staff and the applicant worked this out?
Yeah, and the seawall, if there's any safety issues that are, rectified.
Okay. Well, before we get to the motion part, we still have speakers that want to speak to this item. Joe, is that all?
Thank you very much. I just appreciate a recommendation to the planning board with your support. Thank you.
Okay. Our next speaker is John Nicholson.
John Nicholson, 413 North Grandview Avenue. It appears that all you are on board with this, and I absolutely oppose it. One, this is not the highest and best use. Secondly, we've gone through this before. If they were planning on temporary is like Anderson property. It's 35 years temporary on the boardwalk. County had a dirt lot for 17 years illegally inside the community. So temporary is 35, 17 years kind of thing. When you want to keep this half of Harvey, realize what it looks like, okay? It is not attractive. The new ramps are attractive. If you go down A1A and see when there's development and they put in a new ramp for public access, it's attractive. It's got a little arch, the whole 9 yards. It's a solid sidewalk. It is not a little tiny thing, and it's not a little road. So realize what you're putting in place if you leave it as is, okay? So it's not going to be attractive. It's not going to be new. Transferring to the city, okay, if the city were to get that property, if they don't repair it, the cost goes to the city. Now, you know what happens with public entities. The county bought property, my other place, on A1A in Ormond, okay, for parking, public parking. It is sat on that for 3.5 years. They will sometime soon, maybe, sort of, maybe, put in the asphalt for public parking. But it sat there for 3.5 years. So if the city gets this, it may sit here for 3.5 years, 17 years, 35 years, whatever, being sort of kind of almost repaired. Okay? It would have cost this person $500 10 years ago to board this up. Doesn't have to be pretty. You get a 3/4 inch plywood, $27.95. You get like 10 of them. It boards up the whole thing. You backfill it with sand, and it's done. $500. If you can afford oceanfront property, $500 is peanuts. Yet they have not done it. They knew this project is coming in. They could easily have put in the plywood, yet they did not do it. We're having a problem with the homeless there. The city-owned property allowed for the last 8 months a tent city on a city parking lot on the ocean. They just removed it yesterday. Yesterday, okay? We are not very friendly to the tourists and definitely not to the people that live there. I live in the CRA. There are other people here that live at the CRA. We're not getting what we're supposed to get. Now they're asking us to bend our rules. These people wanted to put a restaurant there, and the city said no. To me, a restaurant would have been a higher and better use than a parking lot. The idea that you guys are saying, oh, well, it doesn't matter. It's only $1 million. Who cares if there's not $1 million in taxes? It's not out of your pocket. But that CRA could do a heck of a lot with $1 million. Where I live, across the street, they put in 2 high-rises, condo hotels. Okay? After the first floor, I could not see the ocean anymore. But that goes with development. But they produce $1 million, I think, a piece towards the CRA. This is valuable land, and parking is not the highest and best use. I don't know how long this parking is going to be there. It is not the highest and best use in that location with a Marriott going in next door. Okay? I'm against the idea of tying up this property. Now, realize, of course, when they get rid of the property along the ocean, okay, not only are they saving in taxes, but liability as well. If anybody gets hurt on the property, oh well, doesn't cost them a dime, it costs the city. So it's to their advantage. It's not bad for them to give up that property. All right? They're winning. It's been a long time. I'm kind of, if you've been at the boardwalk, you hit the end of the boardwalk and you go on an arch. Okay, I'm almost done. You go up and over Main Street. Well, you can't put an arch here. And this roundabout going like this and around and whatnot, it's going to take up an awful lot of room to get somebody back down to the bottom and back up to the top. So it's best to get rid of the whole kit and caboodle rather than try to go keeping that street. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, we have another speaker, Sandy.
Good evening, Sandy Murphy, 136 Park Avenue. I would like to say, first of all, that I don't think it's a good use of anybody's time here to attempt to redesign the project. We're kind of voting on what is in front of us rather than trying to decide how it should be reconstituted to be different and better. And you know, I don't think any of us have enough time to be able to redesign it here and now. I think there are 2 pieces that are really important for your consideration tonight. The one is the seawall and what will be done to make that secure in the time that this project is in process. I think you have the opportunity to make the PD conditional on a secure repair, and I would like to see you do that. The second piece that I think a couple of people mentioned is that timeline is very important, and there's not one mentioned. I don't think we have to lay everything out or be terribly restrictive, but nor do we want to be here in 5 years saying, gosh, we should have put something on it. So, you know, whether it's construction begins in a year or is completed in 3 years or whatever the deal is, I think that there should be some type of time constraint on the PD so that, you know, these exceptions only last but so long, and if they can't do it in that time, they come back and talk to you all again. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is there anybody else that'd like to speak? We close public comments. Anybody else would like to make any more comments on this? If not, I'm waiting for a motion, but if I would like to recommend that the motion addresses, well, obviously it's going to address those 2 issues, yeah. But Amy, you want to take a stab at it?
I'd like to try to read out the whole thing. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the rezoning Plan Development General DEV 2018-007 for 101 South Ocean Avenue, contingent upon securing and bringing the seawall at the corner of Harvey and the ocean to a standard,
Acceptable by city staff would be
acceptable, except a minimum standard acceptable to city staff. I would also like it to be contingent, and that work begin in the next 30 days.
All right. Before I ask for a second. Joe, do you think that's acceptable to your client? Do you want to offer any kind of, what she's saying, a bare minimum type of improvement just to take care of the problem? You know, something acceptable to city staff. We're not saying
I don't. I think the language about securing and bringing the seawall to an acceptable standard to code enforcement, to the city staff is good. The 30-day time frame is a little bit of a concern for me. It's got to be permitted.
Okay. So what time frame would you like to say?
Just to
And
begin
I'm asking
it.
this question before I ask for a second, so that way Amy could change her motion before we get to that second. Okay. So
If we're successful getting a field permit, we could probably have it done in 90 days.
Amy,
Okay, I'll amend my motion that the contingency is that the repairs to the seawall are begun within 90 days. Is that right? And also that a timeline of completion of this PD happen within 2 years.
Well, Amy, that you could do that, but personally, they're gonna do it. I mean, they're not gonna. I mean,
Well,
why
then
waste
let's make it a little bit longer then, but I think the PD needs to have a timeline so that if it doesn't ever happen, the PD isn't there forever.
So you wanted to be.
That's what I would like to see the city do on a regular basis. So
And upon
I'm going to
completion,
ask.
the PD is in place forever and ever
Correct.
until they
Correct.
come back to it.
So,
No.
Carly, Section 10 of the PD agreement specifically addresses the effective date and the completion schedule.
Oh.
So the PD says that the first phase of development, construction permits for the first phase of development shall be submitted within 18 months of the approval of this agreement. This is only a single phase development. There's no multiple phases. So we're required through the PD agreement under Section 10 to start construction within 18 months.
That's correct. Our PD agreements do take care of that.
So that's part of.
that's to start them or to complete them?
No, construction shall be substantially complete within 5 years. But this is not something in reality that we could start. It's a single-phase project.
Okay. So before I finish, are we comfortable with what's already, so we're saying we're gonna allow it with what's existing in our, is it the LDC, or the comprehensive plan, or,
And I would work.
the time constraints there are
Well,
already
the
in?
time constraints are already addressed in the agreement with the city. The only thing I would add to that is that I guess the applicant and the city work out what happens with the boardwalk as far as whether it's an easement or whether it's a dedicated property. What?
Nah, I don't.
Okay, that's beyond us. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I would just keep it to the seawall.
Okay.
Do you want to just say it's the south corner of Harvey?
Yeah, so there are time constraints in Article 7? Is that right? Article 10? No, I mean Article 10 here, but it's Article 6, Development Standards, and Article 7. So is that where we see the time constraints? You said 18 months, and then you just said substantial completion in, did you say 5 years? And
Yeah, that's a staff report. What I'm referring to is the PD agreement itself, which...
Okay, I may not have that.
Which we don't have that, by the way.
No.
A PD agreement is in a draft form, doesn't come to the redevelopment board or the plan.
Yeah, I'm not criticizing you for not giving it to us. There are other criticisms. So.
All right, I'm just going to read that out loud. Application shall be submitted for all construction permits for the development or for the first phase of a phase development within 18 months of the approval of this agreement by the City Commission. The filing of an appeal Construction shall be substantially complete within 5 years of the approval of this agreement. 1 12-month extension of the scheduled application or completion dates may be permitted as a minor modification to that agreement. Failure to comply with the schedule set out above shall cause the development rights granted pursuing to this agreement to lapse.
And what you're reading there about the 5 years is standard for every PD agreement. That's the template. That's how
Okay.
they're provided.
Well, I apologize for not knowing that.
Well, that's okay. I just want to point that out. And again, I did not put that in the report, so
Yeah, that-
it left
next
you in the blind
time,
there. Okay.
Get that in there.
Yeah, trust me if he included that. Okay, so you made
Let's-
the motion. Is there a second to the motion? Second. Second by Dino. Any discussion to the motion? Yeah, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? All right, you got your-
Thank you, Joe.
Okay. Redevelopment projects update.
This one. Thank you, Joe. There on the slides. There's first of all the tattoo shops. We those establishments. There was a text amendment that has been approved now, so that now by right, in addition to an industrial area, I think it's M5 district, and in the business automotive district where we had allowed tattoo establishments as well as planned developments, i.e. Victory Tattoo. There is now an amendment that was approved by the City Commission, which now allows tattoo establishments in RDB 5, which is primarily that retail area along Atlantic Avenue in the Main Street redevelopment area. Most of that zoning is located on the west side of A1A, but there are going to be more of these establishments that are interested in coming in, and we're taking requests at the current time. Two, that we're providing a henna tattoo service are already there, and their Hardcore has already converted to an approved tattoo establishment. And just to the south of that is Flash Tattoo, and they're in process right now to establish. So we'll have some others, and also let you know that BR2 was one of the zoning districts included. That does include some properties along East ISB that potentially will be considered for these establishments. So stay tuned. Jimmy John's, that PD was approved, and as you might recall, you requested that the city not go and impose some requirement for improving Butler. That did not happen. So,
what about Coast Street? Did anything happen with Coast Street?
With the alley that was back in there, there was no change.
So they're going to be required to, or they're not going to be required to?
Well, they're going to improve their section of Coast Street and no further, and that'll really be something the city has to take on, as well as Butler. I mean, it still needs improvement, but at least that's all resolved. We move on. Now we look forward to a restaurant building over there. 1018 South Atlantic. I need to move to the next slide, please. I don't have a way to do that. Could you get me another slide there, please? Thank you. Appreciate it. One more, please. Okay. 1018 South Atlantic, you approved this wall mural. This how it was presented to you. Go to the next slide, and that is your result. So it has been completed. There's some discussion. They may want to actually expand on this. they'll have to come back to us if they want to do that. So.
That looks nice.
That's really cute.
Yeah, it does.
It's adorable.
So the next slide, thank you, is 150 South Coates, and that building that is owned by Avista has been torn down. It's completely down, and it gets sodded. I haven't been out there to see if the sod is in, but it's a good start. A long time waiting to see that. Coate Street vacation, that's proposed for next Wednesday night before the City Commission. And it has had a recommendation from the Planning Board. It's now proposed that it be vacated. You can see a little thing in blue, rectangle up there. That is what the city owns. The city proposes to sell that prior to the vacation to Mr. Hennessy. There was a RFP issued. They responded to that. They were the only response. And so that would be all of that frontage along both sides of Coate Street would all be owned in yellow there by the Streamline Hotels property holding company, SIG Globe.
I have a question. Are pedestrians going to lose access to Coate Street? We're not going to be able to. That's going to be built over or something?
Yeah, Coate Street would no longer be public if this is approved, and that section of Coate Street would all become a development site. Its intent is to be a parking as phase one, and then ultimately with the improvements to the International Speedway Boulevard, excuse me, would be redeveloped for commercial mixed-use development of some kind. But that's not on the table right now. That's not something they have any concept of what that would be.
And is that corner piece going to be part of the circle?
I'm going to get to that in just a second. So, just wanted to share that with you about Coate Street.
Reed, one question for you. You said parking lot. Is Eddie going to make all that yellow parking lot, or just some of it?
I don't know how much will be. That would be the next step, is to look at providing, at this point, what we understand will be a planned development proposal. And similar to what you did tonight, you'd be looking at a parking lot as a first phase.
But we don't know if it's going to be all yellow.
No, we don't know at this time exactly how that will be put together, but he has an engineer and they're working on.
So he's going to own all this, so he's going to be responsible in the meantime to make sure that it's maintained?
Right.
Because it's full of weeds and it's
right.
decrepit.
This is a work in progress. Keep in mind that some of that area that you see has been recently purchased,
yeah.
and he's doing it with the intent of trying to be one of the catalysts for changing our area up there and removing some of the buildings. So he's going to demolish some of the buildings we've seen that have been vacant and not in good shape.
Okay.
And can't really be rehabilitated. And so he wants to be a partner in the community with making this all happen for not only his benefit but for everybody. Mm-hmm. So that's where that's at. Any more questions about that?
Well, I was going to ask about that. There's only two buildings on that yellow. There's one, the old Shells, and then there's the one out on ISB that's the two-story. That was, I don't know what it was. It was a car dealer or something at one time.
And there was going to be an office building, and now it looks like he's acquiring some other properties, and one of them is the first building you see next to the yellow on Grandview. So from ISB. So that residential building has now been acquired. So, but that's just happened. So there's going to be some additional acquisition, cleanup, and that seems to be his intent. And he's investing a lot of money to do what he's done so far. So we're very excited about having him as one of the key people in making some of these things happen. Going on to the next slide, if I could. Thank you. That is one of the properties that we got the approval to purchase a couple of weeks ago by the city commission, and they this is the blue sky one. It's got painted up. It was improved after this picture was taken, but the hurricane did quite a lot of damage to the building, and therefore left it vacant for a while. So, and that was Matthew that did the damage. So,
May I ask a question?
yeah.
When this came before the city commission, I asked them about the two buildings that are going to be there, and since it's going to take a long time to get this ISB stuff done, we're going to be sitting on these, particularly the one to the south.
Yeah.
Candy bar doesn't look that bad. It's been recently renovated, but the convenience store, what will the city be doing with that? And will they clean it up, demolish it, and what kind of a time frame are we looking at that? Because
the intent is
it should be instantaneous.
It can't be instant. There's more work that has to be done because of some issues. If I go on to the next picture and get into where the challenge for us going forward is, it won't be to really necessarily knock down or remove that building, but go on to the next slide, the next one, please. And that is the buildings with the old Shark Lounge, the Candy's Gentlemen's Club, and the former convenience store. And the former convenience store has a fence there, and that's the monitoring site where there's equipment behind there. There's still one of the wells still has some active detection, and we're still trying to get information about whether or not that is going to be eliminated as a part of the final decision. And so we're working closely with DEP to make sure that we know what we're getting into, but we're going to be working cooperatively with DOT and DEP, which if you know, in the past we've gotten grants, brownfield grants, and you can use those funds to do any remedial cleanup.
So
but
that property has been designated brownfield.
Yeah, tanks have been removed, but anytime you're looking at brownfields, you're still.
Is it gas or oil?
That I can't tell you right off the top of my head what.
Almost every property on the beachside is in a brownfield. If you look at the brownfield map.
Yeah, our map was intended to give the opportunity, and that doesn't mean that there's any contamination on any of those sites necessarily. It's just it creates that opportunity to use it if we do run into something. And so in this particular case, we have on both corners old gas stations. And when you have an old gas station, and even though you have somebody who's removed tanks or whatever, you still always have a question mark as you're moving forward. It's our judgment that that's not something that will delay us in going forward with closing on the purchase of these properties, but it is something that we'll have to deal with before we can just go in there and start knocking down buildings.
Well, if the city can set an example as a good property owner while you're holding, because one of the things that I would like to see commercial property owners do, if they're going to hold a property that's vacant or not in use in some way, clean it, clean the windows, do just like what it says in our code of ordinances in the redevelopment area. The windows should be covered, not with brown paper taped up. The building should be painted. I mean, somebody should be able to drive by there and just, maybe they don't even really notice it, or they just kind of, it looks nice, doesn't have to be gorgeous, but they don't look and go, ugh.
Right.
So
And-
let's set a good example.
And if you saw
If it's gonna stand there
our
for a while.
efforts to address that, we had assembled a lot of property down near the bridge on East ISB. And I think initially we didn't go right at trying to do some things in the interim to make sure it's clean. And we're, good neighbors. And we got there and accomplished that, and then we were able to go back later and knock the buildings down. But we fully intend, this is a major corner, and we fully intend to do what we have to do to make sure that we're not the problem, we're the solution, making it look good.
When is expected closing? Do you know yet?
We're close, right? I'm looking at Carly only because she's in the middle of the process right now.
We're currently working on about the end of May, 1st of June, so very close.
Okay, and
for redevelopment project updates.
and just a couple more things. One is just because the Courtyard by Marriott is in, sharing a couple pictures of what we received. If we could move on, there we go. Great. And the next one is a cross section, and it shows the parking garage on the bottom. In the middle there is the lobby on about the third or fourth floor, and then some additional floors above, which are where the hotel units are. And so that is the plan that is now filed with the city. If you go to the next, that is a floor plan that shows you that area from a street level, and so you're really looking at the initial parking garage and some of those things. And there's a lot more to it. Like I say, it's on file, so anyone can access that information online. All right. With that, I think I'm done with my report.
One question. The parking garage, is that just going to be for the hotel?
I don't know if that's all settled yet. I haven't gone through all of the information that they've provided yet. We're in the process of a review right now. So
Okay. All right.
we'll tell you more when we know
Any
more.
public comments?
Hi, Ann Ruby, 137 Park Avenue. I'll turn in my paper. I'm just wondering on updates. Is the parking lot at the northeast corner of Main and A1A, is that operating its parking lot currently? Did they get it into compliance so that it could open as part of their 2-year extension?
Most of it. I still have some concerns about some of the surface material that's in
Okay.
there, and some of the issues with the signage that
Okay.
are right at the entrance.
Well, because Sandy and I noticed that the sign for this parking lot that you just approved looked really nice.
Yeah.
And it would be really great if there could be some consistency there and they could put up a similar sign instead of the little sandwich board. And also, that extension is for 2 years. When does that 2 years start? From the day it was approved, but in the LDC change, or 2 years from the day he gets approval to start operating his parking lot again?
The date it was approved.
The date it was approved. Okay.
Yes.
And then what is happening with 128 South Wild Olive? Any
Thank
updates
you.
on that?
128 South Wild Olive, there's been no update unless you've heard anything, Carly, out of your office?
I do know that Bob Abraham has drafted a motion for summary judgment and is planning on moving forward on that case.
Okay, great, thank you. And then the other thing that this was kind of a painful meeting to sit through, and I think part of that was because you guys didn't have, am I correct in understanding they didn't actually have a copy of the PD to review?
That's correct.
That just seems kind of odd, like they're being asked to approve a plan development agreement that they can't actually read.
The PD agreement actually goes to the commission for approval, and
so all they're approving is a summary.
Staff report.
yeah, just the staff report, the
Okay.
recommendations, yes.
All right. So in the future, it probably would be good to include timeframes because that's clearly a concern, and which makes sense, right? So it'd be good to include that in the staff summary. But also, when you're writing PDs, it seems like it might be good to put in some language that says that the property will be code compliant until such time as it's developed. Like, that's a big complaint that people have on the Beachside, is that people get PDs and then they still let the property sit there and look like trash. So I think that could just be kind of pro forma put in there. It would make a lot of sense. And now I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any more? John?
John Nicholson, 413. I've got several again. One on the picture, it appeared to be Marriott had two buildings with a
No.
roundabout in the middle, or?
No, it's one building, and it has essentially,
Like the Hilton,
depending
you
on
go
the
up
floor you're
inside of
on,
it?
there's a courtyard in the middle. So you actually, if you're on the boardwalk side of it, you would be looking into an open area, sort of a C shape, if you will.
Yeah, like there. It
All
looks
the way
like two
around.
yellow buildings to me.
Right. No, because what you're seeing is a
cars.
driveway because, that's just going in to that first floor from the street. If you look at other sections and levels, you would find those that above, those are all filled in.
Okay.
With, they're all
All right.
connected.
On your other map with Kennedy, there's a missing pink, a little piece right next to the sky, bathing suits. It's a bar.
Mm-hmm.
Is he going to buy it? Because we bought the corner lot. Then there's a bar, and then he owns the other lot where the old fish house, or what it was called. I can't remember.
They're talking about
Yeah.
Bam Bams.
Yeah, the little bar that's there.
All right.
Are we going to buy it? Are we going to eminent domain it? Because you can't just leave it there. I mean, obviously we should eminent domain it to get that corner, and then we can sell part of it.
Since I've arrived here 10-some years ago, there have people been trying to buy these properties.
Right.
And I think there are still people trying to buy properties.
Well, you gave us to assume that yellow property was all owned by one person. So to vacate the street, remember that picture?
It is. But,
it is.
But
then, therefore, it is one property out of all 30 or so that is not accounted for.
That's right.
Okay. So are
In
we
that
going
area.
to try to acquire that since we own the property right next door?
I have no
desire to
right.
clear up that area.
I just think that the private sector is still interested in acquisition over there. So we'll
Okay.
hope that
Yeah, we
they
did that with a
versus
place
the
called
city
the,
has to expend the funds.
Right. The prototype, we did that, and it's still standing, a little blue building that shouldn't be there. Tattoo shops. I know you guys were in favor of tattoo shops. There's several more coming. So we will have tattoo shops on ISB, A1A, and Main Street. The other two CRAs, downtown only gets their tattoo shops on the railroad tracks. Okay? Midtown only gets it where the police station is. We're the only one that gains T-shirt shops, tattoo shops, and we're going to get, 7 or 8 of them? That's an awful lot. It's going to lower the caliber of the city. Graffiti, we have graffiti all over the place. I asked for a project manager for years now. Where Jimmy John's is going in, there are like 9 areas of graffiti. I know when they take their wall out, there's 2 right there. But the back wall to the T-shirt shop on A1A, there's graffiti on that. There's graffiti on the pizza parlor. There's a lot of graffiti right there. There's graffiti on Main Street. There's graffiti on Coates, that 2-story T-shirt shop. The roll-up doors, graffiti on both. It's been there for maybe only 11 months.
Do you report the graffiti when you see it?
Oh, absolutely.
You call it in?
Oh, yeah. Reed's aware of it. Homeless. The other day, one of the business owners got attacked. Some skateboards were stolen, and he got beaten over the head with one of the skateboards. And the cops decided that it would be better to arrest the business owner because he took the keys out of the car that they were going to escape in. And so he said, well, that happened across the street. And then when I talked to the gentleman at Christina's, he said, oh, that happened at Michael's. So I went down to Michael's, and Michael's, oh, yeah, that happened over at Ray's. So I went down to Ray's. And then I decided I'd go to the 12 stores in the area, and all of them have trouble with theft from the homeless. What we hear at the commission is that we don't like them holding up the signs, we'll work for food, or begging for food, I'm homeless, okay? But there are other consistent areas in that small section. Drug dealing in the bathroom there and in the Breakers Park. I wasn't aware of how bad it was. And they're asking me, like, how could you not know? You walk here all the time. I don't see it. I don't see the needles, but they do because they're there 10 hours a day. So it's much more than what we thought. Gary has a problem with them breaking off his sprinklers because they go behind his bushes. There are 5 of them that have them sleeping on their properties. The new Streamline, the homeless are sleeping on their property. So it's not just a little holding up sign. It's a mega, mega problem in the area, and it's not being addressed. Broken windows, that's my pet peeve right now. Went down, we have what's called Article 17. The premise was years ago when we put it in, and I lived here when it was put in, that they would maintain their properties and we would help them by having a vacation of the rules for Bike Week and Biketoberfest. But you must maintain your property to get this. Well, they're not. Okay, Froggy's has like 28 violations. There's mildew, broken windows, rusted thing. Take a look at Froggy's and see how bad it looks. But it's not the only one. Every single property that was on that list for the chamber all had problems. From weeds to trash to the laundromat. Right now, their trash is still sitting from Bike Week. And it's only been 8 weeks. I mean, how fast do you want them to do it? Okay? We've got to talk about it because some of these rules that went in years ago don't apply. One of them complained about having his building painted. Okay, it's being painted right now. But they didn't like the gray. Oh, that's black. Well, I looked at what they painted it, the trim, and I called it black. And he goes, no, that's not black. That's dark charcoal. So we had a color code, and we have to look at that because times have changed. We're not the Art Deco district that we used to do. The lighting has changed. We would not allow LED lighting. Okay? Now everybody's got LED lighting. So we have to look at what we had done as a CRA 35 years ago and look at updating it because colors change, lighting change, murals change. We're not allowing those, which we didn't before. So I'm asking you to take time to look at what the rules were and see if we need to update them for the residents and the people that are business owners. Because I know one of them is still getting trouble. He's got blinking lights. You can't have it touching your window. So he took it off the window. Well, you can't have it within a foot of your window. So he moved it 4 feet from the window. Then they came back and said, you can't have it there because you can still see it from the window when you drive by. So he moved it 10 feet. And then he got in trouble again. So it's not consistent. But everybody has blinking lights now. And trust me, on Main Street, nobody's going so fast between Ocean Avenue and A1A that a blinking light's going to cause them an accident. So I'm asking you to look at those so that our business owners have every opportunity to make money. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Well, Ann, ready?
I'm sorry, I just had another question. Why aren't they given the PD agreement themselves to review? Is that customary? Is that a legal thing? Is it just policy?
It's city policy, but essentially it's just that staff and the applicant work on that and get it to a finalized conclusion and then present it to the city commission. The city commission's the one that approves it, and it has not been approved by the city commission yet.
Okay, so what gets approved here is just a rough draft. It's not even a rough draft, it's just a summary of what you expect the final version to be.
For those who are computer savvy, every time we have a plan development or rezoning, all of that information that comes in gets filed, just like we showed you a Vista. As that goes through review, all of that information is available online. It's the Project Track It system.
Okay.
And so you can go online and you can see, just like you can see permits, you can see code enforcement cases, same thing. So it is all there for anyone that wants to get in. And you'll see red lines, and there'll be a version submitted, and then there'll be another one. So there's a way to access the information, but it is our policy not to provide it until we get to the commission. And
Reed, just to simplify this, when you have item 5 rezoning to plan redevelopment, right after the parentheses, right afterwards, can you give us the project number so that we could go online and just type in? Because it's one thing to have to be searching for it. It's another thing that we could just directly type in the number and then access it. I've been on that site that you're talking about.
right, so you have that.
Is this enough information for me to?
If you type in DEV 2018-007,
Yes.
that will bring up the
then that's all we
information,
need. We
and
got
you
it.
could
We
go
got
by
it.
address or other things too.
You got it.
Okay, so it is available, it's just they would have to go out and get it. Thank you, that answers my question.
Yeah, and you access it through when you go on the city, it's on the left side, yeah. Okay, I guess I will be closing public comments. Now, Sandy? That's right, you gave me this, I'm sorry.
Sandy Murphy, 136 Park Avenue, and I promise I will be succinct. I want to talk about the redevelopment on Coates Street, and in particular the other end of Coates Street, kind of from what you're looking at tonight. The property at 14 South Coates Street is what was originally a livery stable. It was built in 1906. It's my understanding it's in danger of demolition right now. It is the only contributing commercial property in the Surfside Historic District. And it has been, I believe, a victim of a poor system of code enforcement, where although it is our policy not to drop code actions when people get a new permit, it has been our practice to do that. And so this has been a property where it's been dropped in the system over and over and over again. It's in very poor condition. But I would definitely want to see if there's anything that the city can do to preserve that shell rather than have this just be a demolition. It's one of the few properties that has any character. So that would be my request as to whether there's any way we can intercede in that. Thank you.
Reed?
Well, to help you along on that, I can tell you right now I've had a conversation with the property owner about that because this happened, I think, April 30th. The notice went out. There was a permit in that expired to deal with the roof. The process that we're using now is much more succinct in terms of demolition notice, and so it's either get it done or we're serious, that building is going to have to come down. So what I expect and what I'm seeing is a property owner who still wants to repair the roof, has a whole truss system that's all been designed for that already as a part of what they were trying to do, just going slow. And now people are going to have to speed up and provide information to work out using that building. But to go further, and anytime somebody's going to do a major renovation of a building, the first question you ask is, well, what are you going to use it for? And because what you don't want to do is have somebody think of they're going to use it for something, and then they're going to make all these improvements, only to find out they can't use it for what they intended to. And my understanding is that they're going to be putting a use in there that will be permitted in the RDB 5 or RDB 2 district that it is located in. and so not only would it be renovated, but also have a use in it. And I'm not at a point, because there's nothing submitted, but I'm optimistic that we're going to see some action. We're going to see something good there. You know, I'm optimistic. Sometimes what I tell you here doesn't pan out, but this one looks like this might be the answer in to save that structure.
So to be clear, I think the demolition order was posted on, I want to say it was April 24th with 30 days.
I think it was the 30th in the system that
Okay.
I saw. Yeah.
Anyway, so within 30 days, we're going to see some action on that property, because there is also there's a trailer leaning up against the side of the building. There are storage containers that I'm sure that is not a part of something that should happen in the RDB whatever. And it's been there for a long, long time. So if that property owner is ready to move, I mean, I can, it's kind of like I can see it from the front of my porch. So I'll want to see some action there. Thank you.
All right. I guess we'll move on to board comments now.
One thing I want to bring up, the Methodist Church at the corner of Harvey and South Grandview. I could probably do the research myself, but I'd like to ask you, Mr. Berger, if there are avenues that we can take to assist them with repairing a roof, and also putting up a new sign. They have not asked me about this specifically, but I brought it up to them, and they're a humble congregation. They, I don't know if you've spoken with them at all, but I know they are saving money for a large roof repair after the hurricane, either the last one or the one before, and their sign is kind of caving in out front. So I thought it would be nice if I could bring to them a suggestion or some help to build a new sign
When it comes
and get some roof repairs.
Sure, yeah, I appreciate that. When it comes to churches and other tax-exempt properties, the CRA has a very specific policy they're not eligible for any CRA funding, i.e. grants. So we do not fund not-for-profits.
Okay, and what about historical preservation grants? Do you know anything about that? Or
Yeah,
just if it's not CRA, it's not in your...
At least our historic preservation grant, there may be the possibility of accessing that if you are locally designated. There is no local designation.
Okay.
But somebody could, an individual like property like Streamline, they went through that process to get designated.
So they got themselves locally designated, but the whole it can be an individual property.
If it meets the test and it was approved as a locally historic or significant site, architecturally historic,
it is.
They could certainly apply and go through that process for a certificate of appropriateness from the Historic Preservation Committee.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I want to say something nice about the parking lot that is at the northeast corner of Main and A1A, and that is the landscaping, the vegetation. It's beautiful, and as our area is undergoing redevelopment, I really want to promote and celebrate this kind of ocean-friendly, natural landscaping. It has a softness about it, and it's good for the environment, and it's pretty. The upcoming, the vacation of Coates. As a pedestrian and cyclist, I just want to say anytime a street is removed, it is a kind of a loss. And the people who suffer most are pedestrians and cyclists. It's one less way to get from point A to point B. And I love the Streamline project and want to do all we can to support the owner. But I would love to see whatever they do, it would be great if they could just not have to close one access, just one point of access, like, what is it, between 5th and ISB. it's a loss. It's a loss for a neighborhood and a community. One of the nicest things about the Surfside neighborhood is it's a grid. There's so many different interfaces, so many ways to get from point A to point B, and it adds a lot of charm, and it also adds a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of opportunity in the future for small, little businesses, commercial development. So when you take away a street, you take away a lot of linear footage of opportunity there. What else was I going to say? Harvey. I live on Harvey. I hope we don't lose our way to walk to the beach. Although if there's going to be a parking lot there, we can probably always walk through the parking lot to get to the beach. But that's all.
Me. Yeah, you can, if you want to jump off the seawall to get to the beach. No, I know. I don't want to lose Harvey access, and I said that already. So I have two comments. One, regarding the influx of vagrants, and there's just been an increase over on the beach side, on the boardwalk, and actually on the beach itself. For those of us that live over there and have businesses, there's been a lot of comments about problems. But I will say this week, multiple people have been contacting the police, and Chief Capri has gotten back to several people that they are increasing their presence. The concern is some of this is fallout from the new rules that were enacted in St. Augustine, and we're kind of seeing people drifting south. So my comment to that I would hope that our city commission would look at what they've managed to do in St. Augustine and try to toughen things up here so that we're the same kind of community, and maybe these people will go further south. So my other comment is Saturday night, I went to Main Street for Cinco de Mayo, and had a really great time sitting outside at a table, just watching all the people. Main Street was shut down from Atlantic to Peninsula, and I sat there probably 3 hours. There were all kinds of families coming up and down that street. With the street shut down, it was family friendly, it was people friendly, and there was a lot of people going up and down the street. There were bands playing, there were a lot of food trucks, and it was just a really, really attractive atmosphere. And I was actually shocked at how many people were out and about. I would like to see redevelopment funds go to promote that maybe more like on a weekly basis. My feeling was, and comments that I heard from people, is they were actually enjoying being able to visit and walk up and down the street, have food. They could look in the shops. It felt safe. There was plenty of lighting. There was music. It was festive. And I think that's the kind of thing we need to look at, the positive things that we could promote. And this was extremely positive. Right now, most of the things that happen down there are mostly promotions from the Main Street businesses. But I feel like we should be looking more, the city should be looking more at investing some redevelopment money into making something like a Saturday night rock and walk on Main Street or something like that. Every Saturday, shut it down and start drawing in these people that are coming to the hotels that are looking for a friendly place to go walking in the evening and have a good time. And believe me, there were a lot of tourists out there. And I think we can promote local bands, food trucks, whatever. Anyway, that was my observation. It was very positive, and all of the people that I met seemed to be having a great time.
Thank you, Dina.
No comment today.
Well, I'm going to address, since you brought up food trucks, because this is something that bothers me. I had a food inspection at Pizza King about a month ago, and I have a hand wash sink at our next to our bathroom. I have a hand wash sink in our serving area, and the food inspector, rightfully, I'm not going to say, said that she'd like a hand wash sink in our prep area, even though we have a 3-compartment sink, but the food code doesn't allow you to wash your hands in a 3-compartment sink, and we have a mop sink, but obviously you're not going to wash your hands in a mop sink. So she wanted me to put a hand wash sink in that room. And I was like, you know what? I have no problem doing it, I told her. In fact, I'll do it tomorrow. It'll be there, right there where you see, and it'll be installed tomorrow. The problem I have is while you inspected all three of my locations, we walked by these food trucks, which doesn't have bathrooms, doesn't have running water, doesn't have 3 hand wash sinks, It's just, the playing field is just not level, And I don't think it's right for me to compete against a bunch of food trucks, and there's plenty of places to eat, and it's just, to me, it's not, we should be discouraging itinerant vending. We should be discouraging people making money off of, people, taking advantage by driving up with a truck when everybody else has to live by these rules, which are there in place to protect the public from contamination. I'm not. That's why I didn't argue with the lady when she told me to put in the hand wash thing. I agree with you. It just, there's an inequity out there, and it's and it's not right. But anyway, so. I just throwing that out there, okay? And just so you can see from my perspective,
Yeah.
And I want you to think about the person serving that pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Where do they wash their hand?
Yeah, and I'm not, the idea is not to take business away from people. I think right now it's just to find a way to encourage more people to get down onto Main Street and see what's there.
And I have no problem with that. I just don't like food trucks.
My ultimate goal would be, once people see that Main Street is a good place to be, that we would attract other people to invest in year-round businesses, and then we wouldn't need enticements like food trucks.
Okay, and that's why, and I also would like us to pursue that rule that I brought. I think since we are an advisory board, we should be able to initiate a rule that we could forward to the city commission for consideration. And that is what I was talking about before, the rule about contiguous properties and being able to tear down existing buildings in order, and it's in the minutes of the last meeting, and I know that you have said it's something that it should start from the city commission. We're an advisory board. It could start from us, and I don't want to see another building on Main Street, talk about, torn down to put itinerant vending. I just don't want to see that. And I'm not trying to change all bike week laws and everything else. Something very simple. And what that simple something is grandfather in all existing buildings. If somebody were to tear down a building, they would lose the ability to have itinerant vending until such date that they build a building of same size or bigger on that said property. Very simple, That way you're not going to encourage the tearing down of buildings to take advantage of tenants. Does that not sound like a very simple solution to a problem that has happened? Nobody can say it hasn't happened. It's happened. I know of 3 buildings that were torn down on Main Street, and if we're trying to encourage redevelopment, that, this rule actually encourages demolition. I'm sorry, and other than that, so can we request you to bring something before, something like what I just said? It's very simple in a draft format for this board to consider, that we could make a recommendation to the city commission to consider. And if they say no, they say no. If they say yes, I'm telling you, it's to our advantage as a city.
I can bring it to staff and certainly mention that. I would encourage you, and you have a lot of knowledge about this,
to send you an email?
Yes, and we put in some language, initiate it, and I'll forward it to the people who can decide whether or not that's something that would be an administrative action with a land development code text amendment, or that would be something else.
I'll send it to you. And other than that, I guess where we started, I can't open it up again for public comments have been closed. We're on board comments right now. And other than that, obviously our the Friends of the Band Show is going to be kicking it off. I wish I could, if anybody goes on bandshow.info and click the first band that's going to be playing there, there's an actual video that the Bruce Springsteen tribute band actually took at the band show, and it is phenomenal. I mean, you will see the band show, the way they did it. It just shows the fireworks. They're using this video to promote themselves, all throughout the United States and everything. But it was all filmed at the band show and everything like that, and it's on our website. But anyways, thank you very much, and meeting adjourned.